Swami Vivekanand, a great yogi, a great jnani, born with a great intellect. He was an Hindu monk and chief disciple of the 19th century Indian mystic Ramakrishna. He was an ideal man, a perfect brahmachari. He once declared that he never allowed his mind to even think of a lustful thought. He shows the way in which a man should live. He was a key figure in the introduction of the Indian philosophies of Vedanta and Yoga to the Western world and is credited with raising interfaith awareness, bringing Hinduism to the status of a major world religion during the late 19th century. He was a major force in the revival of Hinduism in India, and contributed to the concept of Indian nationalism as a tool of fight against the British Empire in colonial India. Born into an aristocratic Bengali Kayastha family of Calcutta, Narendra was inclined towards spirituality. He was influenced by his guru, Ramakrishna, from whom he learned that all living beings were an embodiment of the divine self. Therefore, service to God could be rendered by service to humankind. Narendranath Datta was born in a Bengali family at his ancestral home in Calcutta, the capital of British India, on 12 January 1863 during the Makar Sankranti festival. He belonged to a traditional family and was one of 9 siblings. His father, Vishwanath Datta, was an attorney at the Calcutta High Court. Durgacharan Datta, Narendra's grandfather, was a Sanskrit and Persian scholar who left his family and became a monk at age 25. His mother, Bhubaneshwari Devi, was a devout housewife. The progressive, rational attitude of Narendra's father and the religious temperament of his mother helped shape his thinking and personality. Narendranath was interested in spirituality from a young age and used to meditate before the images of deities such as Shiva, Rama, Sita, and Hanuman. He was fascinated by wandering ascetics and monks. Naren was naughty and restless as a child, and his parents often had difficulty controlling him. His mother often said, "I prayed to Shiva for a son and he has sent me one of his demons." He was very good at studies too. He was the only student to receive first division marks in the Presidency College entrance examination. He was an avid reader in a wide range of subjects, including philosophy, religion, history, social science, art and literature. He was also interested in Hindu scriptures, including the Vedas, the Upanishads, the Bhagavad Gita, the Ramayana, the Mahabharata and the Puranas. Narendra was trained in Indian classical music, and regularly participated in physical exercise, sports and organized activities. Narendra also studied Western logic, Western philosophy and European history. He became fascinated with the evolutionism of Herbert Spencer and corresponded with him, translating Spencer's book Education into Bengali. While studying Western philosophers, he also learned Sanskrit scriptures and Bengali literature. Narendra was known for his prodigious memory and the ability at speed reading. He had a humongous intellect. There is an incident with Dr. Paul Deussens at Kiel in Germany. Vivekanand was going over some poetical work and did not reply when the professor spoke to him. Later, he apologized to Dr. Deussen, explaining that he was too absorbed in reading and hence did not hear him. The professor was not satisfied with this explanation, but Vivekanand quoted and interpreted verses from the text, leaving the professor dumbfounded about his feat of memory. Once, he requested some books written by Sir John Lubbock from a library and returned them the very next day claiming that he had read them. The librarian refused to believe him until cross-examination about the contents convinced him that Vivekanand was being truthful. Some accounts have called Narendra a Shrutidhara, or a person with a prodigious memory. In 1880 Narendra joined Keshav Chandra Sen's Nava Vidhan, which was established by Sen after meeting Ramakrishna and reconverting from Christianity to Hinduism. His initial beliefs were shaped by Brahmo concepts, which included belief in a formless God and the deprecation of idolatry, and a streamlined, rationalized, monotheistic theology strongly colored by a selective and modernistic reading of the Upanishads and of the Vedanta. Not satisfied with his knowledge of philosophy, Narendra came to the question which marked the real beginning of his intellectual quest for God. He asked several prominent Calcutta residents if they had come face to face with God. He asked everybody, "Have you seen God?" But none of their answers satisfied him. Only one great being, named Ramakrishna, answered, "Yes, I have seen God. I see him as I see you, only in an infinitely intenser sense." In 1881 Narendra first met Ramakrishna, who became his spiritual focus after his own father had died in 1884. Narendra's first introduction to Ramakrishna occurred in a literature class at General Assembly's institution when he heard Professor William Hastie lecturing on William Wordsworth's poem, The Excursion. While explaining the word trance in the poem, Hastie suggested that his students visit Ramakrishna of Dakshineshwar to understand the true meaning of trance. This prompted some of his students, including Narendra, to visit Ramakrishna, Dip. At this time Narendra was preparing for his upcoming F.A. examination, when Ramchandra Datta accompanied him to Surendranath Mitra's house where Ramakrishna was invited to deliver a lecture. At this meeting Ramakrishna asked young Narendra to sing. Absorbed in trance by his singing, he asked Narendra to come to Dakshineshwar. Afterwards, Narendra went to Dakshineshwar with two friends and met Ramakrishna. This meeting proved to be a turning point in his life. Although he did not initially accept Ramakrishna as his teacher and rebelled against his ideas, he was attracted by his personality and began to frequently visit him at Dakshineshwar. He initially saw Ramakrishna's ecstasies and visions as mere figments of imagination and hallucinations. As a member of Brahmo Samaj, he opposed idol worship, polytheism and Ramakrishna's worship of Kali. He even rejected the Advaita Vedanta of identity with the Absolute as blasphemy and madness, and often ridiculed the idea. Narendra tested Ramakrishna, who faced his arguments patiently. "Try to see the truth from all angles," he replied. Ramakrishna would say, "He is the incarnation of Nara, one of the 7 sages. He is already free. He has come here to bless this world." On his second visit to Dakshineshwar, Sri Ramakrishna went into his usual trances. During this he happened to touch Naren and accidentally sent him into a trance of his own. Naren described the incident afterwards. "The touch at once gave rise to a unique experience within me. With my eyes open I saw the walls and everything in the room whirl rapidly and vanish into naught, and the whole universe together with my individuality was about to merge in an all-encompassing void. I was terribly frightened and thought I was facing death. Unable to control myself I cried out for help and Sri Ramakrishna laughed and touched me again and restored me back to my senses." This incident wounded Naren's pride and marked a turning point. At this point he was not sure if the experience was a result of some sort of mesmerism or hypnotism and not sure if he could trust his own experience as something authentic. But the seed was sown. Naren had tasted briefly a new level of conscious experience for the first time. Narendra's father's sudden death in 1884 left the family bankrupt. Narendra, once a son of a well-to-do family, became one of the poorest students in his college. He unsuccessfully tried to find work and questioned God's existence, but found solace in Ramakrishna, and his visits to Dakshineshwar increased. One day Narendra requested Ramakrishna to pray to Goddess Kali for their family's financial welfare. Ramakrishna suggested him to go to the temple himself and pray. Following Ramakrishna's suggestion, he went to the temple thrice, but failed to pray for any kind of worldly necessities and ultimately prayed for true knowledge and devotion from the goddess. Narendra gradually grew ready to renounce everything for the sake of realizing God, and accepted Ramakrishna as his guru. Continued. At Kausapur, he experienced the high state of Nirvikalp Samadhi. Narendra and several other disciples received ochre robes from Ramakrishna, forming his first monastic order. He was taught that service to men was the most effective worship of God. Ramakrishna asked him to care for the other monastic disciples, and in turn asked them to see Narendra as their leader. Ramakrishna died in the early morning hours of 16 August 1886 in Kausapur. After Ramakrishna's death, his devotees and admirers stopped supporting his disciples. Unpaid rent accumulated, and Narendra and the other disciples had to find a new place to live. Many returned home, adopting a grihastha or family-oriented way of life. Narendra decided to convert a dilapidated house at Baranagar into a new math or monastery for the remaining disciples. The math became the first building of the Ramakrishna Math, the monastery of the monastic order of Ramakrishna. Narendra and other disciples used to spend many hours in practicing meditation and religious austerities every day. In 1888, Narendra left the monastery as a parivrajaka, the Hindu religious life of a wandering monk, without fixed abode, without ties, independent and strangers wherever they go. His sole possessions were a kamandal, water pot, staff and his two favorite books, the Bhagavad Gita and the Imitation of Christ. Narendra traveled extensively in India for 5 years, visiting centers of learning and acquainting himself with diverse religious traditions and social patterns. He developed sympathy for the suffering and poverty of the people, and resolved to uplift the nation. Living primarily on bhiksha or alms, Narendra traveled on foot and by railway, with tickets bought by admirers. During his travels he met, and stayed with Indians from all religions and walks of life, scholars, devans, rajas, Hindus, Muslims, Christians, pariahs or low-caste workers, and government officials. Narendra left Bombay for Chicago on 31 May 1893 with the name Vivekanand, which means the bliss of discerning wisdom. Vivekanand started his journey to the west on 31 May 1893 and visited several cities in Japan, China and Canada en route to the United States, reaching Chicago on 30 July 1893, where the Parliament of Religions took place in September 1893. It was held to gather all the religions of the world, and show the substantial unity of many religions in the good deeds of the religious life. The Brahmo Samaj and the Theosophical Society were invited as being representative of Hinduism. Vivekanand wanted to join, but was disappointed to learn that no one without credentials from a bona fide organization would be accepted as a delegate. Vivekanand contacted Professor John Henry Wright of Harvard University, who invited him to speak at Harvard. Vivekanand wrote of the professor, "He urged upon me the necessity of going to the Parliament of Religions, which he thought would give an introduction to the nation." Vivekanand submitted an application, introducing himself as a monk, of the oldest order of sannyasi, founded by Sankara. Supported by the Brahmo Samaj representative Pratapchandra Mozumdar, who was also a member of the Parliament's selection committee, classifying the Swami as a representative of the Hindu monastic order. Hearing Vivekanand speak, Harvard psychology professor William James said that man is simply a wonder for oratorical power. He is an honor to humanity. He was initially nervous, bowed to Saraswati, the Hindu goddess of learning, and began his speech with "Sisters and Brothers of America." At these words, Vivekanand received a 2-minute standing ovation from the crowd of 7,000. According to Shailendra Nath Dhar, it was only a short speech, but it voiced the spirit of the Parliament. Parliament President John Henry Barrows said, "India, the mother of religions, was represented by Swami Vivekanand, the orange monk who exercised the most wonderful influence over his auditors." Vivekanand attracted widespread attention in the press, which called him the cyclonic monk from India. The New York Critic wrote, "He is an orator by divine right, and his strong, intelligent face in its picturesque setting of yellow and orange was hardly less interesting than those earnest words, and the rich, rhythmical utterance he gave them." The New York Herald noted, "Vivekanand is undoubtedly the greatest figure in the Parliament of Religions. After hearing him, we feel how foolish it is to send missionaries to this learned nation." American newspapers reported Vivekanand as the greatest figure in the Parliament of Religions, and the most popular and influential man in the Parliament. The Boston Evening Transcript reported that Vivekanand was a great favorite at the Parliament. If he merely crosses the platform, he is applauded. He spoke several more times, at receptions, the scientific section, and private homes, on topics related to Hinduism, Buddhism and harmony among religions until the Parliament ended on 27 September 1893. After that he gave many lectures all around the world. An important element in his adaptation of Hindu religiosity was the introduction of his 4 yogas model, which includes Raja Yoga, his interpretation of Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, which offered a practical means to realize the divine force within, which is central to modern Western esotericism. On 4 July 1902, the day of his death, he was in India. Vivekanand awoke early, went to the monastery at Belur Math and meditated for 3 hours. Vivekanand went to his room, asking not to be disturbed. At 9:20 p.m. Vivekanand attained Mahasamadhi. Vivekanand once told another Swami that he would not live 40 years. And it happened. Vivekanand propagated that the essence of Hinduism was best expressed in Adi Shankara's Advaita Vedanta philosophy. Nevertheless, following Ramakrishna, and in contrast to Advaita Vedanta, Vivekanand believed that the Absolute is both immanent and transcendent. Vivekanand summarized the Vedanta as follows, giving it a modern and universalistic interpretation. Each soul is potentially divine. The goal is to manifest this divinity within by controlling nature, external and internal. Do this either by work, or worship, or mental discipline, or philosophy, by one, or more, or all of these, and be free. This is the whole of religion. Doctrines, or dogmas, or rituals, or books, or temples, or forms, are but secondary details. Vivekananda linked morality with control of the mind, seeing truth, purity and unselfishness as traits which strengthened it. He advised his followers to be holy, unselfish and to have Shraddha or faith. Vivekananda supported Brahmacharya, believing it the source of his physical and mental stamina and eloquence. He emphasized that success was an outcome of focused thought and action. In his lectures on Raja Yoga he said, take up one idea. Make that one idea your life, think of it, dream of it, live on that idea. Let the brain, muscles, nerves, every part of your body, be full of that idea, and just leave every other idea alone. This is the way to success, that is the way great spiritual giants are produced. What a great being he was! We bow down to his divinity.
निखिल भुवन जन्म स्थेम भंग प्ररोहा अकलित महिमान कल्पिता यत्र तस्मिन्